Hello, my name is Jennifer Campbell, and I'm a teaching professor in the University of Denver Writing Program. In this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to define the rhetorical situation and how understanding the rhetorical situation or context of composing can help you analyze texts and improve your own writing. There are many theories and models of communication, but one from classical Greek rhetoric has stood the test of time. We usually call it the rhetorical triangle, and it involves an author communicating about a particular topic to a specific audience in order to achieve certain ends. But before I discuss each element separately, let's consider what brings them all together. Exigence is the event that prompts you to speak, tweet, or write an article. You're compelled to communicate. As a student, the most common exigence you probably face right now is an assignment prompt, where you're told to write a research paper, or your professor sets an essay exam, or you're asked to analyze a text for homework. As professionals, folks respond to assignments and initiatives all the time. And as everyday people, we respond to the world around us in a lot of ways, in what's called self-sponsored writing, those things that we do that are meaningful to us beyond a grade or a salary, whether that's fan fiction or letters to the editor or petitions to advocate for a cause. This brings us to the example of kairos, or the right time and place. You want to take advantage of the opportune moment, and this is often going to mean responding promptly to current events or changing situations. Sometimes authors will describe their exigence explicitly. Perhaps they'll detail a personal experience that prompted them to speak out. Or they might use a recent news event as an example, a connection that's representative of an ongoing problem. The key here is that you strike while the iron is hot. A newspaper isn't likely to publish a letter responding to an article that they published 3 months ago. An addendum to striking while the iron is hot is that you can make an iron hot by striking it. In other words, you might need to make people aware of things that are happening and draw clear connections to make the content relevant to them in a given moment. In any case, you want to make sure that you're addressing the appropriate audience in the appropriate forum to be most effective. If you ever started to argue with someone or make a scene and they said now's not the time or place, they were talking about kairos. So you have to think about who needs to know about your topic. Who can help you solve your problem or fund your project? What's the best way to reach that audience? Developing your skills in analysis and production of a wide variety of texts can help you prepare to communicate more effectively in any rhetorical situation. One of my favorite examples of kairos comes from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In an article about King as a collaborator and a listener, as well as a leader and a speaker, John Blake told about how some of the most famous lines from Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech weren't even part of the script. King had planned to cap his speech by exhorting people to go back to our communities as members of the International Association for the Advancement of Creative Dissatisfaction. That has a certain ring to it, but he hesitated when he got to that line in the speech and later said it just didn't feel right. And then he heard a voice from behind him. It was the great gospel singer Mahalia Jackson, who was sitting nearby. "Tell them about the dream, Martin. Tell them about the dream," she shouted. King ad-libbed the rest, and the rest was history. Now, of course, we can't all be King-level orators, but we can become more effective writers by using rhetorical principles to analyze the rhetorical situation and act accordingly. So that brings us back to the rhetorical triangle. Whenever you read a text or listen to a speech, you have to consider the source. So think about the author. Who are they and why should we care about what they have to say? In your own writing, how do you present yourself and establish that people should listen to you? The next point on the triangle is represented variously as subject, topic, or purpose, but it's all about content and goals. What information should you include? What do you hope the work will accomplish? And since we don't write into a void, we need to consider the audience. Who is the text written for? What do you know about them and their needs? And how can you shape your text to meet their expectations, move their emotions, or influence their actions? It's a lot to consider, and even the most mundane texts are shaped by their context. Consider something as simple as a grocery list. In this case, the exigence might be that I need to remember what to get at the store, or I might be telling someone else what to get. In the most basic sense, I would be the author writing about my grocery list, reminding myself what I need, and it's the future self. Pretty basic. And if that were the case, I already know what I'm going to get, so a really quick reminder of something like sauce would do the trick. If, however, I changed the audience and we're writing this grocery list for my husband, I might want to say red sauce or marinara sauce, and that would probably be enough because we always use the same brand. But then consider if I were writing a grocery list to go along with a recipe that I'm putting up on my blog. I would definitely need to be more specific and offer details such as sizes or brands. And in presenting that list online, I would probably make sure to use consistent units of measurement and abbreviations that people on the blog are going to understand. We wouldn't want any confusion to cause a kitchen catastrophe. Now, since audience will obviously have an impact on your content and how you present it and yourself, it's a good idea to learn what you can about your specific audience or a place where you might want to publish your writing. That's where audience and forum analysis come in. If you know exactly who you want to write to, you can figure out audience information like their demographics, varying kinds of values or concerns. You'll be able to figure out what content knowledge they might already have. You could see if their discourse community has certain format or genre expectations. On the other hand, you might know where you want to publish, in which case you can look for forum information that gives you a little bit more detail about the specific type of media or publication it is, what kinds of content they publish, and the readership or viewership they attract. You can also often find something called a media kit or information for advertisers on a lot of magazine or newspaper sites, and a lot of publications have submission guidelines for authors. And by looking at those, you can get a pretty good sense of who you are writing to and how they will expect you to do the writing. What matters is that you remember that the rhetorical situation should shape every aspect of your text. It's going to determine what content you decide to include, what format you put it in, what style and tone you adopt in your writing, and even things like which sources to use and how to cite them. While you're at DU, if you ever need any help defining your rhetorical situation or how to meet it appropriately, you can always schedule appointments with your professors, or you can schedule a consultation in the Writing Center because they're happy to help you at any stage of the writing process.